Chapter 1 of Bill and Doreen's Married Life from Doreen by Clarence James Dennis. Chapter 1 Washing Day. The little gypsy violets they was peeping through the green as she come walking in the grass, me little wife, Doreen. The sun shone on the sassafras where thrushes sung a bar. The open worry of our lives was yellin' for his ma. I watched her comin' down the green, the sun was on her hair, just the woman that I married when me luck was headin' fair. I seen her walkin' in the sun that lit our little farm. She had 3 clothes pegs in her mouth an' washin' on her arm. 3 clothes pegs, for I counted 'em, an' watched her as she come. "The stove wood's low," she mumbles, "an' young Bill has cut his thumb." Now, it weren't no giddy love speech, but it seemed to take me straight back to the time I kissed her first beside her mother's gate. 6 years of wedded life we've had, an' still me dreams is sweet. Oh, them bonzer little violets, they was smilin' round me feet. An' what's a bit of stove wood count, with paddocks grinnin' green, when a bloke gets on to dreamin' of the old days an' Doreen? The days I thought I'd snared a saint, but since I've understood I have wed a dinkum woman, which is 50 times as good. I have wed a dinkum woman, an' she gives me eyes to see. I ain't been mollycoddled, an' there ain't no fluff on me. But days when I was down an' out, she seemed so high above. An' a saint is made for worship, but a woman's made for love. And a bloke is growin' richer as such things he comes to know. She pegs another sheet an' says, "The stove wood's gettin' low." A bloke, he learns a lot of things in 6 years with a tart. But thrushes in the sassafras ain't singin' like me 'eart. 'Tis the thrushes who have taught me, in their tuneful sort of way, that it's best to take things singin' as you meet 'em day be day. For I wed a real live woman with a woman's happy knack of talkin' reason inside out an' logic front to back. An' I like it, 'struth, I like it. For a wax doll in an 'ome, she'd give a man the flamin' pip an' longin's for to roam. Oh, I ain't no silk sock sonky who abhors the rude an' rough. For city born an' gutter bred, me schoolin', it was tough. An' I like the dinkum woman who, she jerks the clothes prop so, an' says, so sweet an' dangerous, "The stove wood's gettin' low." See, I've studied men in cities, an' I've studied 'em out 'ere. I've seen 'em 'ard thro' piety, an' seen 'em kind thro' beer. I've seen the meanest doin' deeds to make the angels smile, an' watched the proudest playin' games that crooks 'ud reckon vile. I have studied 'em in bunches, an' I've read 'em one be one. An' there isn't much between 'em when the 'ole thing's said an' done. An' I've sorter studied wimmin, for I've met a tidy few. An' there's times when I was younger, when I kids meself I knew. But 'im who hopes to count the stars or measure up the sea, he can 'ave a shot at woman, for she's fairly flummoxed me. "I'll 'ave to 'ave some wood," she says, an' says it most polite, an' secret to a pair of socks, an' jams a peg in tight. Now, a woman, she's a woman, I 'ave fixed that for a cert. They're jist as like as rows o' peas from 'at to hem of skirt. An' then they're all so different, you find before you've done. The more you know of all of 'em, the less you know of one. An' then the more you know of one, she gives her hair a touch. "The stove wood's nearly done," she says. Not that it matters much. The little gypsy violets, they was smilin' round me feet An' this dreamin' dilly daydreams on a summer day was sweet. I heaves me frame from off the fence an' grabs me little axe. But when I'm 'arf way to the shed she stops me in me tracks. "Yer lunch is ready. That ole wood can easy wait a while." Strike! I'm married to a woman, but she never seen me smile. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2 of Bill and Doreen's Married Life, from Doreen, by Clarence James Dennis. Logic and Spotted Dog. "Unless you 'ide that axe," she says, "he'll 'urt 'imself real bad. An' after all, now, Bill, don't cry. The trouble that I've 'ad with 'im thro' croup an' whoopin' cough, 'e goes an' cuts 'imself. Why don't you 'ang it on the wall, or 'ide it on a shelf? But there it was, jist thrown about. You oughter take more care. You left it there. You left it there," she says, "an' now," I says, "'Old on a jiff. Let's get the facts all sorted out before we 'as a tiff. I'm mighty careful wiv that axe, an' never leaves it out. An' I'd be mad if that young imp got knockin' it about. Ole axe," she says, "look at 'is thumb. A precious lot you care. You left it there." I am married to a woman, which is natural an' right. I says that over to meself for safety, day an' night. Most times I says it fond an' proud, wiv gladness in me mind. But sometimes, philosophic like, an' wot you'd call resigned, "An axe as sharp as that," she says, "it really isn't fair. You left it there. The way you pet that axe," she says, "the way it's ground an' filed, the way you fairly fondle it, you'd think it was a child. An' when I pick the ole thing up to cut a bit of string, you rave an' shout." "Wait on," I says. "But iron's a different thing. An' you was choppin' fencin' wire," she says. "Well, I don't care. You left it there." I helps meself to Spotted Dog, an' chews an' thinks a while. "I'm reely sorry," I begins. Then, as I seen 'er smile, I plays 'er fer the fun of it, an' says, "But all the same, if 'e gets foolin' wiv that axe, 'e's got 'imself to blame." 'Er eyes spark up. "A child like that! Now, Bill, it isn't fair. You left it there." I cuts another slice an' says, "This Spotted Dog's a treat. Of course, whoever left it there," I says, "was indiscreet." "Careless," she says. "You know you are. 'E might 'a' cut 'is face. An axe as sharp as that," she says, "should be kept in its place." "Quite right," I says. "An' not," she says, "jist throwin' round anywhere. You left it there." An' then I lets 'er 'ave it, an' I says, "Now, think a bit. I put that axe away last night, when all the wood was split." "Well, that's enough about it now," she says. I seen 'er wince, an' says, "I put that axe away, an' 'aven't used it since. But someone else was usin' it this mornin', I can swear, an' left it there." "Well, never mind poor Bill," she says. "Was 'is poor thumb all 'urt?" "Oh, it's entertainin' sometimes fer to argue wiv a skirt." "There's someone else," I says, an' grins an' kids I'm doin' fine. "Was usin' it this mornin' fer to cut a bit o' pine. So now," I says, "apolergise. I've beat you fair an' square. You left it there." For 'arf a mo she pets young Bill an' wouldn't meet me eye. Thinkin' she was, I knew she was, an' then she lets it fly. "If you 'ad cut that wood," she says, "as I implored you to, there wouldn't be no need fer me to 'ave such things to do. It ain't right fer a woman. 'Ere," I says, "now, I don't care. 'Oo left it there?" "Of course you don't," she gets me back. "You never care a bit. An' it ain't right fer a woman to 'ave kindlin' wood to split." While there's a man about the 'ouse, I sees the tears is near, an' pats 'er 'air. "Now let it drop," I says. "Don't worry, dear." "'Ow can I let it drop?" she sobs. "You said you didn't care. 'Oo left it there?" "I do," I yells. "I mean, I don't. Oh, God spare me days! When you argue wiv a woman, she 'as got you either ways. You 'ave to do it in the end, an' so I licks the dirt An' says, "Dear, I apologise. I'm sorry if I hurt." Yes, I'm married to a woman, an' she smiles an' strokes me 'air, an' leaves it there. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3 of Bill and Doreen's Married Life. From Doreen, by Clarence James Dennis. Violets. I was pickin' gypsy violets for to try an' square Doreen. We 'ad words about pianos, for she wants one awful keen. I words about 'igh-toned idears, an' like a lovesick fool, 'ere I'm pickin' gypsy violets when the kid came 'ome from school. 'E started school a month ago an' ain't got very far, but judgin' by the scraps 'e 'as, 'e's takin' after Par. I tips there's somethin' wrong the way 'e sneaks around the 'ouse, an' then I seen 'is eye. Oh, strike! 'E 'ad a bonzer mouse. A reel black eye that, in me day, I would 'a' worn wiv pride. But I'm a father now, an' says, "'Ere, son, you get inside, An' show yer mother that there eye. 'Ow did it come about?" Says 'e, "A big bloke gimme that." I knocked the beggar out. I looks fer 'arf a second at the family disgrace. Then I picks another violet so 'e couldn't see me face. I was grinnin' most unfatherlike an' feelin' good inside. "You show yer Mar that eye of yours. I'm 'shamed o' you," I lied. I watched 'im creep inside the 'ouse an' 'ear 'is mother's yell. An' then I straightens up me face an' goes inside as well. 'Twus raw beef steak an' vinegar an' tears before she's done. An' the sorter look she give me says, "You see 'ow 'e's begun." I don't disturb the rites excep' to give some kind advice. In younger days I've caught black eyes an' give 'em once or twice. "That big boy should be punished," says Doreen, "who 'it our Bill." I pats the 'ero's bandages an' answers 'er 'e will. That evenin', down be'ind the shed, near where the scrub grows dense, I gives young Bill a lesson in the art of self defence. I teaches 'im an uppercut that Ginger Mick taught me. In old days, down in Spadger's Lane, I gets down on me knee. To show 'im 'ow to time 'is 'it, 'e sneaks beneath me guard, quite sudden, while I'm yappin', an' 'e cracks me one reel 'ard. Did it please me? Wot do you think? Strike! That kid 'as got the knack. An' it pleased me all to pieces 'ow the old game all came back. Left swings an' jolts an' short arm jabs, the old dash box o' tricks, such as we used down in the lane when we was short o' bricks. I'm showin' 'im a fancy 'it, a reel old ding-dong clout, when the murderin' young savage tries to knock me front teeth out. Of course 'e 'urt 'is little 'and an' fetches up a yell that brings Doreen down double quick, an' then 'twas merry 'ell. She grabs the child up in 'er arms an' gives me such a look as I ain't seen since years ago when I done somethin' crook. "You'll 'ave 'im like you was," she cries. "I'd sooner see 'im dead. You want to make 'im, don't?" I says. "We'll take the rest as said." It 'urt to see 'er shieldin' 'im as though I was a plague. An' ain't 'e mine as much as 'ers? Yet I seen, sort of vague, the woman's way she looked at it, the pictures that she 'ad of young Bill goin' to the pack an' followin' 'is dad. I tries me 'ardest to explain an' make some fool excuse. But I'm married to a woman, an', oh, wot's the flamin' use? I tells 'er if we'd 'ave young Bill keep up 'is end at school, 'e will 'ave to use 'is flippers. But I says it like a fool. I says it like I was ashamed to 'ave 'im learn to fight, when all the time, down in me 'eart, I knew that I was right. She just gives me another look an' goes in wiv the kid. An' me, I picks them vi'lits up, not knowin' wot I did. I 'as them fool things in me 'and when I lobs in the 'ouse, an' makes bets wiv meself about the chances that she'll rouse. But 'er, she comes the calm an' cold. Thinks I, 'ere's where I fall fer a 40 quid pianner, if I want to square it all. Goodbye to 40 lovely quid, time payment 53. An' all at once she smiles an' says, "Did you pick those for me?" "Did you pick those for me?" she says. "Oh, Bill!" An' then, "Oh, Bill!" I hints I 'ad idears to leave 'em to 'er in me will. She grabs them dilly vi'lits an' she holds 'em to 'er nose. "Oh, Bill," she smiles, "you always knew 'ow fond I was of those." "Oh, Bill, you dear!" She 'ugs me then, just in the same old way. 'Struth, I'm married to a woman, an' I'll learn young Bill some day. Chapter 4 of Bill and Doreen's Married Life. From Doreen, by Clarence James Dennis. Chapter 4. Possum. Just 'ere it gripped me on a sudden like a red 'ot knife. I was diggin' in the garden, talkin' pleasant to me wife, when it got me good an' solid, an' I fetches out a yell, an' curses soft down in me neck, an' breathes 'ard fer a spell. Then when I tries to straighten up, it stabs me 10 times worse. I think per'aps I'm dyin', an' chokes back a reel 'ot curse. "I've worked too fast," I tells Doreen. "Me backbone's runnin' 'ot. I'm sick. I've got — oh, 'oly wars! I dunno wot I've got. Just 'ere, don't touch! Just round back 'ere, a blazin' little pain is clawin' up me spinal cord an' slidin' down again." "You come inside," she says. "Per'aps it's stoopin' in the sun. Does it 'urt much?" I says, "Oh, no, I'm havin' lots of fun." Then, cooing to me, woman like, she pilots me inside. It stabs me every step I takes. I thought I would 'a' died. "There now," she says, "men can't stand pain. It's always understood." "Stand pain!" I 'owls. Then jumpin' jakes, it gets me reely good. So I gets to bed in sections, fer it gives me beans to bend, an' shuts me eyes an' groans again, an' just waits fer the end. "Now you lie still," she orders me, "until I think wot's best. Per'aps 'ot bran or poultices. You just lie still an' rest." Rest! 'Oly gosh! I clinched me teeth an' clawed the bloomin' bunk, fer a red 'ot poker jabbed me every time I much as wunk. I couldn't cough, I couldn't move, I couldn't get me breath. "Look after Bill," I tells Doreen. "I feels that this is death." "Death fiddlesticks," she laughs at me. "You just turn over now." I 'owls, "'Ere, don't you touch me, or there'll be a blazin' row." "I wanter die just as I am," she says. "Now, Bill, 'ave sense. This 'as to go on while it's 'ot." I groans, "I've no defence." An' so she 'as 'er way wiv me, an' though I'm sufferin' bad, I couldn't 'elp but noticin' the gentle touch she 'ad. That evenin', when the doctor come, sez 'e, "Ah, 'urtin' much? Where is the trouble?" I says, "Where you ain't allowed to touch." 'E mauls an' prods me, while I 'owls to beat the bloomin' band. Gawbli'me, I'd 'a' cracked 'im if I'd strength to lift me 'and. "Describe your symptoms now," says he. I fills meself with wind, an' slings 'im out a catalogue, while he just stood an' grinned. "Aha!" he says. "Sciatica! I will soon 'ave you well." "Sciatica?" says I. "You're sure you don't mean jumpin' 'ell? It ain't no private devil wiv a jagged little knife?" "Tut, tut," he grins. "You'll soon be right. I leaves you to yer wife." I looks at 'er, she smiles at me, an' when I seen that smile, "Oh, poultices!" I groans, an' she enjoys it all the while. But I'm married to a woman, an' I gives you my straight tip: It makes a man feel glad of it when sickness gets a grip. 'Er looks is full of tenderness, 'er ways is full of love, An' 'er touch is like a blessin' as she gently bends above. 'Er speech is firm but motherin', 'er manner's strict but mild. You're 'er 'usband an' 'er patient, an' 'er little orphan child. When you're married to a woman an' you're feelin' well an' right, When yer frame is full of ginger an' yer mouth is full of skite, Then you talk about the missus in an off-'and sort of way. She's 'andy in the 'ouse if she don't 'ave too much to say. But when old man Sciatica, 'e does you up reel neat, Then she's yer own reel mate, she is, an' all yer 'ands an' feet. An' so Doreen, she nurses me while I lie there an' grouch, For I'm snarky when I tumble that it ain't me dyin' couch. I barks at 'er an' snarls at 'er an' orders 'er about, An' nearly wears the feet orf 'er wiv trottin' in an' out. An' while old man Sciatica, 'e 'as me in 'is sway, Doreen, she jist gives in to me, an' always gets 'er way. 3 solid days I 'as of it, an' then the pain lets out. I'm feelin' fit fer graft again, an' wants to get about. It's then she lets me see 'er 'and, an' orders, "You stay there Until you get yer 'ealth an' strength to sit up in a chair." "But there's that stove wood," I begins. Says she, "Now, don't you fret. I'm very sparin' wiv it, an' there's tons an' tons there yet. Tell you straight, I got to like it. It's a crook thing to confess, But to 'ave 'er fussin' round me give me chunks of 'appiness. So I gets out in the garden wiv an armchair an' a rug, An' I comes the floppin' invalid, an' makes meself reel snug. I droops me eyes, an' 'angs me 'ands, an' looks dead crook an' ill, An' wriggles ev'ry time she says, "Wot would you like now, Bill?" An' then one day I 'ears the axe down there be'ind the 'ouse, An' I sees meself a loafer, an' me conscience starts to rouse. I 'eaves me frame out of the chair an' wanders down the yard. She's beltin' at a knotty log, an' beltin' good an' 'ard. I grabs the axe. "Give up," I says. "I ain't no shattered wreck. This 'ere's my job." An' then, Gorstruth, I gets it in the neck. "Am I yer wife?" she asks me straight. "Why can't you trust me, Bill? Am I not fit to see to things when you are weak an' ill?" I tries to say I'm 'possumin' an' reely well an' strong, But ev'ry time I starts to talk she gets me in the wrong. "You can't deceive me, Bill," she says. "Yer 'ealth is far from good. You jist can't trust yer wife to chop a little bit of wood. You got to come out in the cold," she says, "wivout yer wraps. An' now I'll 'ave you on me 'ands fer days wiv a relapse." "I been pretendin'," I explains. She says, "Am I yer wife? Yet sooner than you'd trust to me you'd go an' risk yer life." Well, I'm married to a woman, an' it might seem sorter meek, I goes back into bed again an' 'ates it for a week. The End. End of Chapter 4. End of Bill and Doreen's married life. From Doreen. by Clarence James Dennis.